So on the GD, we're going to get into motion and forces. So this is going to be some of the physics topics. So force basically is using energy to do work. And most commonly, we think of force as a pull or a push. A pull is a force that moves towards you. So if you think about pulling on a leash for a dog, or sometimes when you open a door, you got to pull the door towards you to open it. A push is when you use a force to kind of move something away from you, pushing something away. So if you're behind a box and you're just kind of pushing behind it, that's again a force of moving something away. Or again, you may have to push a door open as well. So a push is more of a moving away, and a pull is something more of a force moving towards you. Another word here is the word motion. A motion, again, is a change in the position of an object. So if you move something, you're putting it in motion. So if I'm pushing a box and the box is moving, the box is in motion. Now, when it comes to motion, there's this fellow. His name is Sir Isaac Newton. You may have heard of him. He's more familiar with the apple falling on his head uh, and discovering gravity. So he's also got these three laws of motion. The first law is basically this: objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So again, a force in this picture here with a soccer ball, a force could be like kicking a ball. So what he's kind of saying here is an object at rest is going to stay at rest. It's not going to move. So if you set a ball on the ground, it's not going to go anywhere unless there's an unbalanced force acted upon it. So if I kick the ball, that is now that unbalanced force. And now the ball is in motion. Now, when the ball is in motion, it's going to stay in motion until there's this unbalanced force that stops it. So in this case, the unbalanced force would be like a net, would then stop the ball and put it back at rest. So that's kind of Newton's first law of motion. So something that's at rest will stay at rest. Something in motion will stay at motion unless, of course, it's interacted with a force that can make it move or force it to stop. Newton's second law is more about a formula. This formula stands for force equals mass times acceleration. So force is measured using what we call newtons. Mass is how much something weighs, in a sense. It's how heavy it is. Mass is usually going to be in the form of kilograms. It's going to be a metric unit. And acceleration is going to be like meters per second squared. So if you ever step on an accelerator on a car, that's what acceleration is. You kind of go faster and faster. That's acceleration. So force is going to equal to mass times acceleration. So those three elements are tied together to form the special formula. Newton's third law basically says forces will always come in pairs. If you push on the wall pushes back. So that's an important concept with Newton's third law, is there's always this opposite force that's present when you're using your own forces. There's this other opposing force that's equal and opposite. So I'll stop there with some of the definitions with motion and forces.